Welcome to Bookwrights House. We are joined today by John Cline, the author of the Monogamy Mystery, Natural, Unnatural. I'm Michaela Ramirez, your host from Bookwrights House. Welcome, John Cline. Welcome to Bookwrights House. We're so
It's a
glad.
pleasure.
Okay. So, to start with, I would like to ask you on the definition of monogamy. How do you define monogamy in your book?
Well, I think monogamy has two definitions. There is what I call real monogamy, which is uh, a partnership or relationship between two persons, male and a female, for life. And then there is serial monogamy, which is one partner at a time. So when I think about monogamy, in terms of Homo sapiens or the human species, I believe we are best suited for serial monogamy and not so much real monogamy, which you will find in some species of the animal kingdom.
Okay, so monogamy has been a topic, a debatable topic that has differing comments. So, how do you um, justify monogamy to be a relationship for that is suited for one person at a time? How do you change the minds of those that are saying that monogamy is not in or is not okay with today's life or today's world?
Well, what I believe is if you, for those who are reading my book, you would see that I take my premise really from a biblical and spiritual perspective. And it's on that basis I have written the book. However, having said that, I have also recognized the challenges that has presented over the years for many persons and people in relationships throughout the world. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, or any other color. It doesn't matter your religion. It doesn't matter your social status, your wealth bracket, whether you're rich or poor. It really doesn't matter. Um, I think most people, if you would interview them and take a survey, you will find that monogamy has challenged all of us in some way or another, either directly or indirectly. So I don't know if it's a matter of changing someone's mind. Rather, it is, can we confront the reality that monogamy has been a challenging ideal or idea. We hold it high, and we believe that it's a spiritual teaching, and we believe for most persons it's the preferred and desired way of life when it comes to relationship. But many will tell you it has been a challenge.
That is really a challenge, especially in today's world. Monog-
Yes.
yeah, on the role of religion and spirituality, what does faith play in maintaining a monogamous relationship?
Well, I believe that faith has everything to do with it. Simply because um, it is my belief, and it's why I won the subtitle of the book. Is it natural or unnatural? Um, and it is my belief, if you read through the book, that it is not natural. It doesn't occur naturally. Um, so, what is it then? And it is my conclusion, um, and we get there through a series of discussions and research, that then it must be spiritual. And if you're going to attain monogamy, it is your faith or your moral code that is informed by a set of spiritual values that will get you there. It's a discipline, but it's not a natural occurrence, or else all of us would doing it, and none of us would struggle.
It's true. Ah, how about in the cultural perspective? Can you say that the concept of monogamy varies across different cultures?
Certainly, and that is also something discussed in the book, um, because among certain cultures, particularly um, that I'm aware of in Africa, if you are a Christian, there are laws that governs uh, your faith, that says if you're a Christian, you can only have one wife. If you're a Muslim, you can have four. But if you are just in your culture that you grow up in and not subscribing to any particular religion, a man, as long as he can afford, can probably have up to six wives, especially among people like the Maasai tribe in Kenya and Tanzania. And of course, among other Muslim countries, the Sheikh, those persons are allowed to have more than one wife. So I think culture does play a significant role in terms of informing the whole subject of monogamy.
So, what inspired you to write this book? Is this based on personal experience or the people around you? Um, uh,
Both, both. I have been a pastor for 30 years. I was married, um, have been married, and the best, and I don't consider myself I don't consider myself a promiscuous person. I don't consider myself an irresponsible person. I have children. I had a wife, the mother of my children. And yet, with all my good intentions, with all my faith in God, uh, and every desire to live that Christian value, um, and that societal idea, I still found myself challenged in that area. So my own personal experience gave rise to the writing of the book. Why would a good person who loves his wife, loves his children, wants his family, put it at risk with an affair? But also, seeing many of my friends and colleagues in ministry, uh, people in society, persons I've counseled throughout my time in ministry, seeing their struggle, hearing their struggle for various reasons. All of that came together, and I wanted to help in creating a platform, or at least a pathway, for persons to have a honest and open discussion about a very difficult subject. And I believe that if I took the book and I wrote in the book and people would read the book, that it would create that platform. So, for instance, I was in San Antonio, Texas, and I was invited to a book club where there was about 25 persons, both male and female, who had bought the book for their book club. And I was invited to speak to the book club about the book. And it was most satisfying because that is what the book was all about, to create that platform, to create that open dialogue among people that are dealing with the very subject.
So, are they the target audience for the book? Those who are struggling with monogamous relationship, primarily?
Well, no, I think I don't think it's for people who are struggling, because the truth is whether you're struggling now or have struggled or have the very best intention, uh, you can be faced with temptation, and there could arise opportunity for you to be unfaithful, whether you're married or dating or unmarried. So I don't think it's just for people struggling. I think that uh, anyone in the room, whether they have had um, an extra relationship affair, extramarital affair, could lend to the discussion when that discussion is happening, and to maybe help those who have struggled with it, to say, well, this is what has worked for us or me. So I don't believe it's just for those who are struggling. I believe it's a well rounded book. Um, because if I say it's just for those who are struggling, there are many persons who will say, well, women don't struggle as much as men. But the book is not it's not gender bias. It goes both ways. Because if a man is going to cheat, he's going to cheat with a woman. And sometimes that woman is not always single. Sometimes she's in a relationship herself. So I don't think it's goes just for men or just for women. I think it's both.
And so we are now onto the area where we cheat, where people cheat. What do you think are the psychological and emotional consequences of infidelity?
They're far reaching. They're far reaching. And that's a very loaded question that it could take us all night to answer. But in a very concise way, um, because of how we are socialized to believe that uh, we should be people who have one man and one woman in a relationship. And once you get into that relationship, it should be that way for life. However, prior to marriage, that's not how we are socialized a lot of times. A lot of times we are allowed to date multiple persons, and we have all of this social influence like television and these shows, that the bachelor and the bachelorette, where you're kissing this one and kissing that one, and then you have to choose one. But what we don't realize, those are habit forming things. You get used to a variety of people and then you get married, and you find out that it's not as easy to now switch, just turn on a switch and say, I'm now monogamous. What that does to the psyche of either the man or the woman, first of all, that's involved, it gives them a feeling of not being good enough for their partner. It gives them a feeling of, what did she or he has or had that I don't have? And it plays on the self esteem of that person. But not only that, I believe when there are children involved and they see the quarreling and the fighting and the fussing over a relationship gone bad over monogamy, it also impacts them. Sometimes it can go as far as abuse, where one person, they don't just take it that way. It can be psychological abuse, verbal abuse, it can be physical abuse. And in cases, you even have, crime of passion, where people commit murder because they feel that they have been wronged in that area. So, like I said, that's a very concise way, but I think the consequences are far reaching.
But how can we create a society that supports a healthy and fulfilling relationships?
I believe, I, be- I believe that in the Western world, especially in America and France and these areas over here, it is very difficult because the influences are so great, and there is no social code in terms of how you achieve that. There's no cultural code in how you achieve that. Whereas if you go to the Arab world, Saudi Arabia, or any one of those places, they have a social construct. The women have to be wrapped up. Now, I'm not here judging whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying they have a code. Um, a lot of times, women are not allowed in the same space with men. Their dating is not like Western dating. Their dressing is not like Western dressing. They have certain codes that guide a person's behavior or exposure, and there are punishments attached if you violate those codes. So then persons are more apt to behave in a way that is consistent with that code than outside of that code. Whereas in the Western world, you don't have any code. Is you do what you believe, or what you can get away with. And so in a society like that, unless you live a very disciplined life that is guided by your own spirituality or moral compass, then it's very difficult. Is it achievable? Absolutely, it is, because I've seen it. I've seen it modeled, I've seen it lived. Um, it's not common, but I have seen it. And so it lets me know it is possible.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, on my own personal perspective, I think monogamy relation or the monogamous relationship is a personal choice also, more than the cultural. And another question: what do you think is the role of technology in relationship today? Does it make it
This
more complicated?
destructive. you, you know, it used to be money was one of the high influences on breakups of marriages and relationship, especially marriages. Today is technology, because everyone wants to know what their partner is doing or not doing. And most of the times, if you seek, you will find. And when you get a hold of that phone, that cell phone, and you start searching through and you start meeting things, then all the bells go off, the flames is blazing, the words are coming out, hurtful words. You are hurt, you are hurting someone. Very destructive.
Yeah. In just one click.
One click, and your world will turn upside down. Yes.
So, what advice would you offer to the readers who are grappling with their own views on monogamy or relationship?
I would say read the book. I would say read the book. I think that the book offers a well-rounded approach. Uh, if you look at the book It speaks about in biblical days what was permitted by God. It was never condemned by God. It was actually allowed uh, for men, especially, to have more than one wife and concubines, for that matter. In the case of David and Solomon, in the case of Jacob, uh, who had 12 children by four women. Um, it's all there. So then I move from there to the biological analysis. Is there anything biologically that wires us to be monogamous? And from all of the research that I've read and did, there's no such thing that makes us monogamous. Um, so, and then you move from biology to sociology, from sociology, um, to societal, our societal life and way we are raised. So I believe that if the person picks up the book to read it, you will find a well-rounded approach in helping them to understand the whole subject of monogamy from varying views and perspective, and not just one single Christian view, not just a biblical view, not just a Christian view, but a societal, a biological, sociological. All of those things come into play in the book, and that's why I think it's such a great read for anyone wanting to understand the subject on a deeper level.
So, onto the future of relationships. Based on the finding or based on your research, how do you envision the future of monogamy and relationships in general?
I really don't see it getting much better. If anything, it has gotten worse. I think people are marrying less than before. I don't believe that people value family as much. I believe that we are raising generations of children who are more free in their thinking, free in their sexuality, and so I don't see it getting any better unless there is an intentional push on a societal level, not just a religious level. It can't be just that. It has to be on a societal level. It has to be the moral compass of the society. And unless that happens, then in the Western world, you will not find an improvement. So what the book seeks to do is to give people an understanding so that when it does happen to them, one, they are not as hurt, hopefully. Two, they don't resort to crime or killing one another for hurting me. And three, there's a chapter in the book called How Do I Forgive the Wrong but Keep the Wrongdoer? So the person who did me wrong, I forgive them, but I keep them. And it talks about not throwing away the baby with the bathwater. The bathwater is dirty, but the baby is still good. There is poo-poo all over the place, but the baby is still good. Can I bring myself to the point where if my wife has an affair and she truly wants the relationship to work, can I forgive her and love her, and we go on to build a more wholesome life? So I believe that's what the book seeks to do. is to minimize the hurt, minimize the damage to children that are damaged by broken marriages because of relationships, or who have to grow up in a single family home because one or the other persons are out with multiple partners. Uh, how do we minimize that so that it doesn't destroy our society? And I think that's one of the things the book seeks to do.
Yeah, the concept of monogamy is a topic that everyone would love to hear and love to know. What are the next steps for you? Are you currently working on any new projects or books?
I do have two in particular. One is within the same genre of books of the theme, and that if you look at the book and how it ends, um, it talks about it talks about a beautiful love, and so I have started outlining a book called The Beautiful Love, and it's really based on a lot of the Songs of Solomon. The Songs of Solomon is one of those books that's very poetic, but it's about love. It's about the man that found this young maiden, and he was so in love with her that he was describing her physically. He described the taste of her lips and her physicality, and he was just so engrossed with his lover. And how can we how can we find that in our own lives and make that a reality for us? And so the book will be called A Beautiful Love. And then I have a book that could be very controversial, and it's based on homosexuality and my views about it.
So we are
Yeah.
excited to read your books, your future books. So finally, John, where can our readers purchase or buy your books or your book, The Monogamy Mystery?
Well, primarily right now, it's on Amazon. Because I'm self-publishing, as you know, it's hard to find a book in stores and get shelf space, especially from an unknown author like myself. Um, it is very difficult to penetrate the market when you don't have distribution, and you can't, get on ABC or CBS or CNN to let the world know, listen, this is a good book, you should read it. That's very difficult to do. But for the meantime, um, they can pick it up on Amazon. There's not an audio version as yet, because all of those things take money to produce and so on and so forth. But I really believe that it's a book that everyone should read.
Yeah. I myself wanted to have a copy of that book also, John. Thank you so much for your time, John. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share to the audience or to your target audience?
Um, what I would say is that there is a chapter in the book called A Word to the Young. And I'm picking up on the question you asked, what do I see as a better future, especially for the young ones that are coming? And there's a chapter called A Word to the Young, and various subtopics about looking for love in all the wrong places. And there's one particular subject that says sex is not love. Because for most young women, when they get into a sexual relationship, they think it's love. And for the man, or that young man who is 19, 20, 21, it's not love, it's just sex. It's very physical for him. But the young woman, on the other hand, is thinking that she's all in love. How do you help them to navigate the difference between what a man is thinking at that time and what a woman is thinking, so you can manage expectations. So it's not just for married people or elderly people. I also wanted to include the youth that are coming, and help them to, when they get into a interpersonal relationship, intimate relationship, that they manage expectation. And if you know that you're looking for something permanent and love, then it's best to listen to your mother and withhold yourself until such time you are even more sure.
Yeah, our mothers know best, so we have to listen.
Oh, yeah, they have been through.
Yes.
They have been through, so they know.
I hope you had a great time today, John. And thank you again. Thank you so much for being with us today. Okay, thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You also.